What's up, your boy Domuto. We are back with another video watching UnrealEntGaming. Beyond Dragon Ball Super Ultra Instinct, Jiren destroys Demon Kodos. A new order given to UnrealEnt. Okay. Alright. This should be fire. I can't wait to see this one. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and let's go.
As our story now continues, following the initial battle involving Universe 11, with Pride Trooper Belmont now shown having to face off against one of the elite demons known as Gamu, as Jiren was left off and having to face the elite demon Kodos by himself, to which it was only just upon with Belmont now shown having to engage against Gamu before having to send him flying off directly towards Topo, was when Belmont went on to then quickly respond. You know, I find it quite interesting that you go and call yourselves a legion, which implies that of structure, strength, and formation, but from where I stand, all I see is a withering mess of overgrown parasites who are simply latching onto the cracks of the multiverse in order to go and prove themselves to their grand supreme overlord. But tell me something, do they just so happen to assign ranks based on the amount of drool volume in the demon realm, or do they simply go off and having to base your ranks off of your failure rates? Belmont questions. Because if you are truly supposed to be one of their many elite ranking fighters, then your ruling Master Raijin, along with the Dark Masters, ought to really go and start reconsidering permanent retirement here. But I have an idea, Belmont continues. And so now why don't we go and try this? And so hurry now, Topo. For what do you say that we go and show our little demon elite here on just why exactly we are regarded as being one of the most dangerously powerful universes within the entire multiverse itself? But whatever you do, do make sure to go and bring him back to me immediately, with Topo responding, right. And so now let us go and do exactly that, Topo shouts upon being shown having to unleash a gigantic Hakai blast behind Galmu, for we will never go and take the knee and having to bow our heads before such monsters, even if what they say about their leaders is to be true, and having it result in our very destruction. And so now be gone, with Belmont having to then respond, good, yes, just like that. And even though it has indeed been a very long time since I had gone along and having to fight alongside the Pride Troopers and having to be one of its original members myself, why don't we go and give these demons a little reminder here on exactly why we are not to go and be messed with when it comes to invading our world. And since you demons have a tendency in having to completely disregard the rules and the laws that are each set in place for every single one of these 12 universes within the multiverse itself, I can only go on to promise that because you love to break the rules, this will only go and hurt for just a moment before it is all over. And so don't worry, demon. But now let's just see on how tough you so-called elite demons truly are when faced with the task of having to overthrow a sitting god of destruction. Belmont continues upon now being shown having to toss his cards directly at Galmu. And while I may have misled you into believing that the pain was only going to be but a temporary one, well, I lied. And truthfully, and I don't really think that it would have mattered whether I did or not, because the outcome of your existence along with your purpose here was ultimately going to end the same, regardless of the pain that you had gone as far as to go and endure. And so now good riddance, Belmont says upon now being shown having to completely Hakai Galmu. And as this ought to go and show you creatures on what will go and happen to you if you think that you could just go and come into my universe and expect to go and get away with the chaos that you have went and had caused here, with Topo responding, good, that's the way, Lord Belmont. And with Jiren left to go and handle what is rightfully owed to him in the meantime, Topo says, let us go and continue
just choking nigga out and shit all casually
creatures before we are to fully go and redirect our attention right back at Jiren and seeing where their battle goes from there. But then it was only within these very moments now from across the battlefield, as the elite demon Kodos was then shown having to use his full power and having to go after Jiren, was when Kodos then went on to quickly respond, still carrying your master's teachings on your shoulders after all these years since his death like some kind of a sacred burden now, are you? Well, it would seem as though his teachings don't appear to be helping you out here in this fight against me, because not only is my strength equally as powerful as your own, Kodos says, but in case you haven't realized it by now, but you are being driven back more and more, which doesn't look good for you because
get too
just like it
cocky
was
now.
when you had failed to go and stop me from wiping out your entire clan alongside that wretched Master Geechin of yours, you are going to fail in having to stop me once again, and deep down, that desire and desperate conviction within your eyes that you fight so very hard to avenge will ultimately drive both you and your entire group of Pride Troopers into the grave, Jiren. And as I had tried warning you that my power was not to go and be challenged, and since you had went and decided to go and seek revenge in attempting to go and destroy me for slaughtering those weaklings whom you often referred to as your family, for if they had all still been alive to this very day, then I would have went and had forced you to watch me go and destroy them all once again, and that right there is the greatest difference between us, Pride Trooper. And so while as impressive as you may have been in showing me on how much you have truly grown throughout these years, you are still nothing more than a weakling when staring into the face of my great and unbound demonic power, with Jiren responding, "You foolish demon, for there is far more to the depths of my boundless power that you could never possibly go on to imagine for there to go and be, and so if you don't believe me," Jiren continues, "then I am about to go and have you what a joke," Kodos quickly responds upon being shown having to blast Jiren with a point-blank blast. And as if I truly care about whether or not there is something more to your power that meets the eye here is utterly useless within my cause, and so since you appear to miss your loved ones this badly, then how is about you go and join them, Jiren? And so now don't try to fight it and just let it all go and sink into your very soul, so that way you may finally go and be with your loved ones once again within the afterlife. Wait, but what's this? Why am I sensing his power suddenly vanish without a trace out there, Kodos questions? For he couldn't have found a way to possibly go and escape me now, did he? Well, it doesn't matter, cause even if he did, there will be no corner of this entire universe that Jiren will be able to go and hide within that I won't be able to find. But then, it was only shockingly enough now from within these very moments, as Ultra Instinct Jiren had gone as far as to make his presence known by having to go as far as to strike Kodos, was when Jiren then went on to quickly respond, "And that is where you are wrong, because unlike how it was before, and unlike how you reigned supreme for so many years with no other means in having any other mortal warrior rival your power at the time, you are gravely mistaken if you think that the outcome of what is about to go and take place here between us is going to result in having this battle end within your favor," Jiren says. And as the first of your biggest mistakes was allowing for someone like me to go and get away and having me grow into the man that stands before you, but on top of this, Jiren continues his onslaught by responding, "Your second biggest mistake was being and having you be foolish enough by coming back into Universe 11 in thinking that I wasn't going to be ready for you, while also having to now go and show you that I too am able to now carry a power that goes far beyond the gods in wielding Ultra Instinct. For I swear on the very souls of all of those whom you've mercilessly destroyed," Jiren continues, "that I will stop at nothing in breaking you down piece by piece until you have gotten everything that you already had coming now for a very long time, Kodos. And as you are now staring into a power that you cannot possibly begin to comprehend, much less overcome in battle here when facing me," Jiren continues, "and now that you are looking into the very eyes of the man whom you've once tried to go and tear down all those years ago, there will be nothing that you can possibly hope for that will go and put an end to what I am now, demon," with Kodos responding, "But just how are you able to go and acquire a power like this? For this shouldn't have been possible for someone as weak as yourself to go and have you achieve, and so how could this possibly be? For how are you able to go and do this, mortal?" But then, it was only as Jiren's onslaught had continued by having to be shown throwing Kodos across the field before Kodos was shown then having to make his way directly towards Ultra Instinct Jiren, was when Jiren then went on to quickly continue, "As you are a complete and utter disgrace, a pathetic excuse for a so-called warrior, as the very delusion that you seem to pride yourself within," Jiren says, "and is ultimately going to be shattered, and it's going to be shattered by none other than me, demon," to which as Kodos was then shown dashing directly towards Jiren, was when Kodos then went on to quickly respond, "Curse you, Pride Trooper! for you aren't going to go and beat me that easily, because there is no scenario that could possibly exist where you will go and stand victorious over me, and you know it. For I am going to go and tear your limbs apart the second that I am able to go and grab hold of you, as I am done playing these little games of ours here, Jiren, and so this ends now. Well, go and try as you'd like, Jiren quickly counters by responding, because in the end, you are going to go and pay dearly for everything that you had went and did to me, demon, as I just want for you to go and understand something as clearly as I could make it, for you aren't just fighting a mere mortal from the past here, but you are rather facing the wrath of the very soul that was forged within the fires of agony, solitude, and discipline, which you yourself had went as far as to go and leave behind, Jiren shouts, because while you did what you could and while you tried to ruin me when I was left without anyone to ever go and turn to, Jiren continues upon being shown having to continue his onslaught against Kodos. Did you really think that this wasn't going to be something that would ultimately come back to haunt you, demon? Well, does it? Because maybe now you can see that I have not only grown stronger through the pain that you have inflicted, but I have also gone as far as to transcend the gods themselves. As I have faced off against both gods and mortals alike, and despite with every challenge, every victory, and every defeat that came along the way, Jiren continues, I had went and made sure to never go and allow for any of it to go and change or break me ever again, demon. As you could never hope to go and do what you had went and did once to me before, because just in case if you haven't went and realized it by now, but we here within Universe 11 are not as simple to overcome as you and your legion assume for us to be, because no amount of planning and no amount of warriors that you go and bring into our will ever be truly enough to go and break our foundation, no matter how hard you and your army of followers go and try to do so, Jiren continues. And with your confidence beginning to crack and with your movements becoming slower and slower with each passing second, understand that this was all because of you, demon. And even though you had went on to go and take everything away from me, at the same time, Jiren continues, you had inadvertently also gave me purpose as well. And now that I stand before you and wielding a power that no mere demon could ever dream of having to go and wield, I am going to go and break you just as you had once broken me, Jiren says. As now that you are finally starting to see it firsthand for yourself, I can see that look when I glance into your very soul that deep down you're afraid. And rightfully so, because you should be, demon, as I can see that you are trapped within the filth of your own ego, in hoping that your cruelty alone will go and save you as it once did, but now that you are fully able to go and experience the very monster which you have went and had created through your actions a very long time ago, you can't touch me even if you tried, Kodos. And so how about it? So much for that weak little boy that you had assumed was long gone by now, isn't that right? Well, you should have ended my life the very moment you had went and ended the lives of my parents, master, and my clan, because you could never go on to understand on how long I had waited for this very moment here between us, demon. And so now tell me, do you still believe that you can win, or is the truth behind your inevitable destruction finally starting to settle in, demon? And is the weight of your failure along with your pride finally getting the better of you? Because if this is the best that your so-called demonic power is capable of, Jiren continues, then you are in far greater trouble here against me than you can possibly come to even realize, demon, and it isn't even close between us. And here you went and had called yourself the Harbinger of Darkness.
Yeah, Kodos, you sound soft as hell, nigga. Do something.
Footnote within the legacy of my resolve and the target that I have been searching for a very long time now, demon. And just like you, who had once taken everything away from me when I I was weak, so comes the day where I will now go and take everything away from you now that I am strong, Kodos. As now that you can go and see the true extent of my full power, you could never hope to possibly match me no matter how hard it is that you try, demon. Wait, just hold on now, just listen to me, Kodos says, for it doesn't have to go and be this way. As I was the one who had went and forged you into the warrior that you currently are, Jiren, because if it were not for me, then you would be nothing. And so while you understand this,
okay,
you
nigga,
need
I'm here now.
Jiren, and so just think about how much stronger you could ultimately become if you go and take this moment to let me go. For I can go and offer you so much more than what you could ever go and dream of becoming if you simply go and take this moment to let me go, because think about it. For what would you become and who would you be without me, Jiren? With Jiren responding, well, you're right about one thing here, demon, and that is the fact that you are still indeed without a shadow of a doubt the primary one who was responsible in having to shape me into the mighty warrior that stands here before you. However, going and letting you go after everything it was that you did in nearly breaking both my mind and my body would be the greatest possible mistake that I could ever come in having to go and make, as it is because of this very pain that you had went and brought down upon me is hereby my exact reasoning on why I could never let you go, demon. For you should have ended my life when you had the chance all those years ago, because this is where your nightmare will finally come to an end, Jiren says. And so prepare yourself, for this is where our fated story finally comes to an end, and just like it was when you had went and slaughtered my friends and my family, I too will now go on to ensure that there will be no mercy, as there will be no escape and no second chances given, for you had went and had ultimately brought this down upon yourself the very moment when you had went and forced me to go and watch as you picked apart and ripped away at everyone that I had once cared about. For I just want you to go and simply know that this isn't vengeance, demon, this is justice, Jiren says. And so now go right ahead and take a very good hard look at what is standing right in front of you, because this is going to be the last face, along with having this be the final time that you will ever get to go and plague this universe ever again. To which it was only explosively enough within this very moment now, as Jiren had created and gone as far as to unleash a massive supernova that went as far as to swallow Kodos whole. It was only with the other Pride Troopers having to oversee this from a distance as Jiren went on to finally vanquish and destroy Kodos was when Dispo went on to then quickly chime in. Whoa, what in the world? Incredible. Just look at the size of that thing out there now, will ya? Well, he did it, as I couldn't be any more proud in having to watch Jiren finally get the closure that he's been looking for ever since he was a child. As now that he has, I can only hope that you are finally at peace within, Jiren. To which, as Belmont went on to then oversee this himself, was when Belmont then went on to quickly chime in. Yes, that's the way, as I'll have to go and admit that even for someone as intuitive as myself, Belmont says, watching Jiren become the very storm that had once consumed him is almost poetic in a way, to know that the very demon who once sought out to destroy Jiren's soul as a child had ultimately fallen victim to that very same soul in the end, Belmont says, as you did what you had to do, and because you did, you have my highest praise along with my utmost respect, Jiren, for we had always known that your day would come, and upon us here today, that very day is, Jiren, and so well done. And what a beating that was, on top of such a powerful attack to go and close things off too, and so very good, Jiren, very good indeed, with Topo then having to quickly chime in. Jiren, my friend, I am so very proud of you, as I can only go and hope that you were finally able to find peace through closure, for the nightmare that had plagued you ever since you were just a little boy has at long last finally now come to an end. To which, as Ultra Ultra Instinct Jiren was then beginning to remember his clan parents alongside Master Gichen was when Jiren then went on to say to himself, "Thank you for everything that you have done to help mold me into the warrior and the person that I am today, Master Gichen. And while I know that I was never able to truly ever say goodbye," Jiren adds, "and I can only hope that this very moment in time was as loud and as clear as it could possibly be, and having this be the day where I can finally say goodbye for good to all of you," Jiren says. "And while there is still much that needs to go and be done while we are all still here," Jiren continues, "I pray with a humility that I rarely ever allow for myself to express on the surface, that your souls, wherever they may be, can now find eternal rest in having to know that the torment of their final moments and their injustice of their passing can now finally be brought to an end." But then, it was only within these very moments now, from out of nowhere, as Angel Margarita had then gone as far as to make her presence known, was when Margarita went on to address the Pride Troopers by then responding,
"It's like 3:30 in the morning.
As I've been wondering as to where you had all went after I had left you, but now that I have found you all," Margarita adds, "I will hereby need for all of you to go and listen very carefully to what I'm about to go and tell you all.
Okay, let
the
know.
very message that I come bearing is a matter of absolute importance, and so do try your best to follow," Margarita adds, "as it is a directive from Whis himself that had passed down onto all of us through the angelic conduit that we have all held earlier, for the very order that was given to us was to have all of the remaining angels across the multiverse anchor their posts in defending their universes, no matter the cost, in not having to go and leave them behind," Margarita says, "as we are to stay and protect our universe from any and all invading members of the demon realm, no matter what, which was a direct order that Whis had went and given onto us," Margarita says, "just before his energy signature was completely shown and having to vanish. But to go and make matters even more interesting than what they already are, it was brought to my attention just a few moments ago that the other angels had confirmed the presence of the Omni Kings," Margarita says, "for their very energy signatures had appeared simultaneously across several quadrants of the multiverse, which only now means that they are no longer confined within the sealed barrier that was placed over their palace, but instead are now finally free." To which, if in fact this proves to be true, and in fact the Omni Kings are now set to be free, then so is everything else that was once trapped alongside them, which could only mean that they are both now on the move and more than likely looking for the whereabouts of the Grand Minister. And so while we are all here and all together, we are to remain within Universe 11 and defend it from the demon realm no matter the cause until we are given the order to go and do otherwise. And while I'm unsure of what is going to go and come from all of this, if Whis and his universe aren't successful enough in going to do anything to stop or slow any of this down, one thing that I am in fact actually very sure of is now that the Omni Kings have been set free, Margarita continues, it'll only be a matter of time now before they go and decide to take action against those demons, which we could only hope won't end up resulting in the complete and utter destruction of everything as we know it. To which it was only right then and there now, during that moment, where the Beyond Dragon Ball Super Story of the Dark Masters, the official Murno sequel, manga chapter number 44 special, then comes to a close.
That was a cool little chapter, like I said, after the Jiren action part, then it was cool. It's 3:30 in the morning, so if my reaction wasn't to it's full of tears 3:30 in the morning, I'll be drinking. So I thought I'd get this video in and out. This seems it was kind of a cool, normal day shit. Jiren flexing for the hoes, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, shout out to UnrealEntGaming. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch y'all next time, man. Check out the last chapter right here, and yeah.